As I clean up and sell off my unneeded phones, I came across this iPhone 7. It works but has a small issue. An issue that prevents really anyone from being able to use the phone, but one I could have fixed for around $10. But I can't. Everyone knows the two most important buttons on this form of iPhone are the power button and home button. Without one or both, the phone is almost impossible to navigate. The iPhone 7, 8 and the SE second and third generation all have the same issue, an unreplaceable home button. If it breaks or stops working, Apple are the only ones able to replace it and make it work. I've talked about this several years ago, but now that these phones have started to age considerably and come down in value, you can really start to see its effects. There isn't a home button repair option from Apple. The only fix is to replace the whole screen. The new screen coming with the button already attached. When the iPhone was new and still worth several $100s, a $265 screen replacement from Apple was viable, even if it wasn't the cheapest option. But now you can get a used iPhone 7 for around $80 or an iPhone 8 for about $150. So if your home button doesn't work, you're better off replacing the whole phone than taking it to Apple for repair, because no one should spend 3 times the value of their phone to repair it. But I feel that is kind of the whole point to controlling repair. If it's gate-kept from everyone but the manufacturer, they can make up whatever price they like. With no competition, it's their way or the highway. That of course being front the cost, deal with the fault, or buy a new phone. But this is by no means an Apple-only issue. Just look at Samsung's Z series of phones. If the screen fails or is broken by user error, the cost of a replacement often exceeds the value of the phone. So while Samsung and other Android makers aren't trying to stop you from repairing their phones, it's almost always uneconomical to repair a foldable. It's easy to say, well, you should have got the added insurance. But the time you pay for the insurance and the excess when your phone breaks, in most cases, you're not saving all that much, unless it's catastrophic damage, and you're after a whole phone replacement. For example, the iPhone 14 Pro Apple Care insurance is $279 Aussie dollars for 2 years. If you bust your screen, there's an excess of $45. So you're only saving $225 if you break the phone. If you don't during that 2-year period, you just wasted $279. This is of course on top of the phone's $1,750 purchase price. The cost of phones is still rising, but they seem to be getting easier to break and harder to fix. Some of these devices are only a few years old, so the price of repair could be justified. But as they age, it quickly becomes uneconomical. Samsung wants $800 to replace a broken display on an original Galaxy Fold, a 2019 phone now worth less than $800. However, there's always going to be an option of going aftermarket or doing it yourself for less. But for Apple's phones, that's become a thing of the past. By software pairing many of the parts inside their newest phones, they're really the only ones able to fix them. Come a few years, and the repair price will likely exceed the device value, like what's happened with our iPhone 7. The iPhone 7 was really the beginning of third parties not being able to repair Apple devices. The 5S did introduce the first paired component, which was the home button. Replacing it would prevent the use of Touch ID, but you could still use the phone. The replacement button would still let you wake the device and let you exit apps. But with the iPhone 7 and its new solid state button, the game changed. Now any replacements would act as though it was also broken, even if it was an original button swapped from another iPhone. You could argue a fingerprint sensor should not be replaceable as it's a security device, despite the fact every other phone manufacturer has managed to allow replacements on its phones without any issues that I'm aware of. Some require additional calibration, but can still be done. The bigger issue is of course the inability to even be able to unlock the phone as the button won't work. Apple's built-in solution is an on-screen button, which if you can get the phone unlocked and get into settings, it can be enabled. But let's be honest, Some on-screen button taking up screen real estate isn't a good workaround. So China came up with a band-aid fix. First, it was a home button that connected with Bluetooth. It was powered from the phone, but used Bluetooth for actual communication. Of course, you always had to have Bluetooth switched on and deal with the button sometimes losing connection or not waking the screen up from sleep. The next versions needed no Bluetooth and became somewhat of a drop-in replacement. A hacked button that allowed for both power and communication to happen over the existing home button wiring. But they're still not perfect. Of course, there's no Touch ID, but you can still wake the phone and exit apps as normal. The biggest issue I had with them is that they tend to fail after several months or cause the phone to crash. After all, these are purely workarounds of something we're never supposed to be able to fix. It has allowed some function to return, but it's unreliable. This is why this otherwise functional iPhone will never be used again. I received it as just a bare logic board, and I never had access to its original home button. Because of this, it's nothing but e-waste. I'm worried to see what the even more locked down iPhone 12, 13 and 14 series phones will be like as they age. Featuring software paired screens, batteries and cameras. Paying the Apple repair costs now doesn't seem out of reach for some, but give it some time and most will end up like this iPhone 7. Could have been fixed, but as no one but Apple can and the cost is too great, they'll forever remain broken. Nothing but e-waste. I believe this is done to try and increase phone purchases, getting people to upgrade sooner and stop them from extending the life of things they purchased. All at the cost of your money and our planet. And on that note, this has been a Hugh Jeffries video. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing and check out the playlist for tech that's not what it seems. If you're looking for any used devices, be sure to check out my online store, link for which is down in the description. That's all for this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.